We welcome you to another live edition of the Sports Box, brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use the box at sign up for 10 points. And here we go.
And welcome everybody to another edition here of Unsportsmanlike Conduct here on the Sports Box. I am Paul McCree alongside Big V Mike Velarde.
What's up?
What's up? The news came out 5 hours ago, around 2 p.m. Eastern time. Doug Peterson has been let go as the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Unbelievable. Less than 3 years after their Super Bowl win, this is how it all came to an end. And that's obviously going to be the gist of what we talk about this evening, is about the firing of Doug Peterson. I'm sure we'll get a lot of questions and a lot of comments in regards to the firing and what is next for the Philadelphia Eagles as they let go of a head coach that probably will be getting another job as a head coach here. I would not be surprised within the next week or so, like Andy Reid did when he was fired by the Eagles back in 2012, and then he was hired by Kansas City in pretty quick order. I think that's going to be pretty much the same for Peterson and where he ends up next. And that's going to be the gist of it. And obviously we'll talk about we'll make our prediction for the national championship game between Alabama and Ohio State. That kickoff is a little bit over an hour away. So first off, I'll let you comment, Mike, on what, basically your initial thoughts here when the news went down here at 2:00.
I was very surprised. I got to be honest with you. There must have been something that went on in that meeting that, kind of went south. And then for them to have another meeting as was shown on there. Listen, I think I might be in the minority, but I think they're making a big mistake by doing this. Listen, they went to the playoffs 4 or 5 years. They won a Super Bowl less than 3 years ago, like you said. Something underlying that was really bad. Did they pick Wentz over him? Did they, listen, the big thing that sticks out is Howie Roseman's still going to have a job. Mm-hmm. Okay. And I don't know what to make of that. If anything, Howie goes first and then see what Doug could do. And then the report came out that Doug said that he was tired of listening to everybody else. Let him make his decisions for him. That's a problem. Yeah. That's a real problem because, listen, I could see him going right up the turnpike and coaching the Jets next year. I really can with Joe Douglas. That's a real possibility. And I think in my eyes, I wouldn't be as mad about them firing him. And if we see who else we got coming in, if we had a list of candidates, 4 or 5 candidates lined up for this job, I wouldn't feel as bad. Now, is Deuce Staley a candidate? Jeffrey Lurie says he is. He didn't seem like he was like, Well,
he'll get another interview because of the Rooney Rule.
But Bieniemy,
which he did, 5 years ago.
Yeah, and last year for the offensive coordinator's job that he didn't get.
Well, they already listen. I know, Eric Bieniemy with Kansas City. You already heard Mike Kafka, former Eagle third-string quarterback.
Come on,
who's right now the quarterback's coach in Kansas City. I guess they're going to just keep trying to pluck through the Andy tree of coaching. But they already missed out on that initial chance to get one of those two guys, if that's who they really wanted. Because last week was their bye week when they could have interviewed. If they really wanted to fire Doug, they should have just did this last week instead of waiting another week to talk again about it. This is the Jeffrey Lurie, and the indecisiveness of him too, as the owner lately here on some of these matters. But now you lost out on those two guys because Kansas City's going to play this week in their playoff game against Cleveland, so you can't, they can't interview this week. And who else knows? I'm sure Deuce will get a interview. I don't know any other in-house candidates they're going to want to interview, and I don't know how exhaustive they want to get through the interview process here. But to be honest with you, right now, you talk about Howie Roseman, and now Lurie had his hour or so press conference this afternoon, and Howie is safe and as far as we know is going to assume his everyday responsibilities as the president of football operations. And I don't know if they are going to bring in another guy like they did with Joe Douglas 4 years ago, to help him out.
Like I said, I think my biggest problem, Paul, is I watched almost the whole Lurie press conference. He was asked 4 or 5 times about Roseman not hitting on draft picks, and he kept saying, "Well, it's not a short-term thing; it's not a long-term thing. You can't focus on one guy." And then I think it was Maddie. Was it Rob Maddie? Whatever his name is.
Yeah, the AP. I think he works for the Associated Press.
He said you have one Pro Bowler that you drafted in the last 7 years. That's a problem, and it's not hard to make the Pro Bowl. That's a problem.
It is.
That is a huge problem.
Listen, I think
got people all over the NFL drafting kids in the 4th, 5th round that are making the Pro Bowl. We can't hit on one of them.
I mean, the talk about the draft, it is a little bit of a crapshoot. There's no question about it. But when you miss out on, and we're just talking about the last couple of years, a difference between a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside who you drafted in the 2nd round, and then after that, a DK Metcalf that gets taken, or a Deontay Johnson who got taken. That's the Steelers, pretty good Steelers wide receiver right now. Guys like that. And then this year you drafted Jalen, Reagor. And I know it's only 1 year. He did miss 6 weeks with an injury, and it set him behind as far as and he didn't have a real, off season. So there's going to be some excuses there. But, you passed up on Justin Jefferson, who had the same amount of off season as Reagor had. And look how great that he was, set the single season rookie receiving yardage mark this year. And that's just a different, if you're just talking about a little bit of a difference between this receiver and that receiver, it's one thing. When we're talking about a big difference between a guy like Arcega-Whiteside, who doesn't even look like he belongs in the league right now, or at best is like a 5th receiver, 4th receiver, to DK Metcalf, who right now might be one of the top 5-10 receivers in football. That's a talent evaluation problem right now that the team has. And, obviously their scouts should be a little bit of blame too, but apparently if you're going to go by the hearsay of things, the scouts recommended Jefferson this year to Howie, and Howie went with, I guess, who he thought he had to take. Apparently he would have been there in the 2nd round, this kid. If they really wanted him, he would have been there probably in the late 2nd round pick where they took Hurts. So, the drafting is a huge issue. There's other teams that aren't drafting well either. The Patriots haven't drafted well either lately, and you see how that finally got them in trouble this year. Now that they, Brady moved on, and they didn't have a good quarterback solution this year, they went 7-9. So the Patriots are an example of when you don't, you stop drafting well, and you have multiple consecutive years of, underwhelming drafts. This is what happens. So. But the Patriots have won 6 Super Bowls, so they, obviously get, much more of leadway to all this than the Eagles, who have won 1 in 60-something years. So, that's really where it's at. And obviously the front office is a big concern. And listen, the owner has not his decision-making has not created much of a stability lately. And I don't blame Doug for, if you believe the reports of Doug wanted to keep some of these guys in-house as far as promoting this guy to offensive coordinator. He wanted Press Taylor, essentially just promoted the offensive coordinator, which I think would have been a problem because I think they need to – I guess they felt that they had to – if Doug didn't want to part ways with this staff, but I think Doug felt like he earned the right to, have more freedom in decision-making, and he's probably right in that regard too. It ended up becoming a power struggle in that regard. And once again, that's what probably was the final straw today, I would imagine. So,
you're completely right. Our vice president of football operations here at the Sports Box, Brian Attard, has gave us this meme for our show. The Eagles are renaming this statue to "Guys We Got Rid Of."
Yeah, that's
now we got to walk into a stadium.
Yeah.
Well, when we're able to.
Yeah.
And see a statue of a coach and a Super Bowl MVP that are no longer on the team 3 years later.
Yeah, it's pretty. I don't think it's ever happened like that before, where you had a coach and quarterback combination win the Super Bowl, and they're obviously, Foles hasn't been on the team for over a year now.
This is one of my questions, and it's going to be the question that's raised. With Doug gone, does this keep the door open for Carson to regain his role?
Yeah, it does.
I mean, they asked him if he was going to be on the team next year, and he didn't give a solid yes, I don't think, from what I heard.
Yeah.
But, you'd have to. I think you would have to. Unless Lincoln Riley's your next head coach.
Well, they had to decide.
The only way Jalen Hurts is staying.
Well, you had to decide between, I guess, also, because I guess it came down to Wentz versus Doug. And, obviously Wentz is making much more money than Doug is. So it's easier to get rid of a coach. And the coach doesn't go against your cap. That's just out of Lurie's pocket, whatever they owe him as far as remaining contract is concerned there. But I think really right now Wentz has an opportunity to stay, but I mean, also when you're interviewing now these head coaches over the next couple of weeks, which I assume is going to take a couple of weeks, what are you selling?
They're not in a rush. They're not in a rush to name a head coach.
Well, they're going to have to do this before the Super Bowl.
Well,
because there's a lot of things that have to.
For them to get rid of him, they know who they want. They already know who they want.
Probably. They know who they want to interview.
There's no way that they're firing him and just saying, okay, we'll figure it out.
Well, if that means they're not in a rush, then that means that they're targeting the Kansas City people.
I would think
assistants.
So. I mean, do you think that Deuce Staley should get a job with the Eagles as a head coach?
I don't think so.
Do you think that's a good hire?
No. I think he is what he is. He's
apparently
running backs
gave him a ringing endorsement.
He's a running backs coach. I don't know. I listen. We're not in the locker room. We're not
right.
At practices or behind the scenes like this to really pinpoint whether or not. I mean, I'm sure the players love him. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, it seems like that. I don't.
Malcolm said he had the attention of the whole room as soon as he talked. I don't know why he's giving his 2 cents. He's not even here anymore. Because he feels like he has to talk about everything.
Did he say that today?
Yeah, he tweeted.
Oh, he did. Okay. But I don't know. I mean, does he deserve another opportunity to interview? Probably. I think they're going to – usually you want to probably interview one in-house guy, but I think in this instance, I think you want to go – I mean, unless you want the structure to be you bring in a head coach that's kind of neutral to, Doug's Deuce isn't really a guy that isn't going to call plays. So, he's not going to be an offensive coordinator.
Right.
And we know he's not a defensive guy. So you're going to obviously hire that we already knew they had to bring in another defensive coordinator anyway.
I heard a ton of names so far. So they need they're probably going to need an OC because the head coach is going to want to be either the OC or have his own OC.
They're going to bring in pretty much a whole new coaching staff.
It's good. I don't mind that.
At this point, they are. Yeah.
I don't mind that. I mean, if that's a decision they want to make, do I agree with Peterson being fired? I don't. There had to be some underlying things. There had to be. Him and Lurie weren't seeing eye to eye, or Roseman. They were telling him possibly to put Jalen Hurts in when he wanted to ride with Carson. But everybody keeps saying that Wentz and Peterson had the beef. So I don't know who to believe.
Whoever's leaking that side obviously has motivation to leak a story that sides with them. So you're going to get both sides to that. Normally,
Wentz didn't have his going out meeting. He didn't do that with Peterson. I heard he blew it off. So
yeah.
But it's almost like Wentz is getting what he wants type thing. Like they're giving in. Yeah. They're giving in to him, which I don't understand. So, Darren, we see what you're writing over here as far as Eagles have no talent. They do need a big draft, and we know that. I mean, how many more chances do you give Howie with the 6th pick? What are they going to do? Devonta Smith? What do they do at that point? Everybody's saying cornerback. Well, if you take a cornerback, I don't like the linebacker they're saying. I'm hearing everything.
I wouldn't go linebacker.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, right now, whoever's interviewing is going to be asked about, we have obviously the 6th pick. do you think right now the quarterbacks on the roster can be the answer? And I would think those candidates are going to say yes. So I don't think you go quarterback.
Yeah, listen, I agree with that too.
Yeah.
As much as this year sucked and it was terrible,
Right.
I still think Wentz needs another chance with another coach. If this is the route that they're going down, but then, like Brian Attard says here, what does this whole thing mean for Hurts? At this point, you got rid of the head coach. Wentz is likely to come back. Do you sell Hurts?
It makes it much. Yeah, I agree. It makes his outlook as an Eagle much more cloudy now because
did he do enough to get you anything back?
It's really tough to
get that second-round pick back for him.
I mean, he looked very good against the Saints. It was a great game plan against the Saints. He even had good moments against the Cardinals, and then the final two games, he didn't really do much against Cowboys and the Washington. So
that's my question: are you going to get that second-round pick back that you spent on Hurts?
I'd say right now,
no, probably not. You're probably going to get third or fourth.
Yeah.
And that's
the
terrible.
issue. Yeah.
I think that the plan was to play him for them last 4 or 5 games to see what value you can get for him. If Lurie knew he was getting rid of him, I think.
But why do you even draft him then? You know what I mean? Like, because they
really thought.
Honestly, I know they didn't need necessarily a running back, but in this league, it's best player available. I mean, J.K. Dobbins, I know went a couple picks after that. He probably would have been the better pick. I mean, I know it's not necessarily, Miles Sanders was the premium pick the year before, but I mean, if you have Sanders and J.K. Dobbins, does your team look better compared to you drafted Jalen Hurts, who barely saw the field for the first 3 quarters of the season, and then he started the final 4 games?
That's the thing. I mean, they still had cookie cutters at wide receiver. They drafted Rager.
Yeah.
But it was almost like a Band-Aid. They didn't go out and get anybody. Now, does Alshon come off the books this year? Most likely. Does a couple of the higher paid guys come off? Yes. Let's see what it opens up. They're still not in good cap space.
Yeah, it's going to be a hell of a mountain to climb to get out of that, even with, getting out of Ertz and getting out of Alshon's contracts. I don't know what it means as far as cap hits still. I mean, I'm sure guys like Brian Attard could probably tell us right now. But I mean, that's just another thing. I mean, there's so many different layers that are negatives right now with this team as far as you can't pinpoint just one thing. It looks like this is going to be. And you got Wentz in the prime of his career as well. Let's not forget here. He's 28 years old now.
Right.
So you're going to have Wentz in this little bit of this transition. I mean, God forbid if I say rebuild. But I think as of this moment, I know in the NFL you make a couple moves, you can get right back to the top with solid quarterback play. So that is also another thing. If they get consistent quarterback play back again, and Jacobs 2520, that is actually Dave Jacobs, I think, via Twitter. So he is saying, are you guys going to address the O-line play? I mean, listen.
They're not healthy. Nobody's healthy.
Good point with the offensive line. I also said that, but if Kelsey retires.
Then they're in trouble. It's going to be hard. Listen, regardless of if he declined a little bit this year, he still played every single game, every single snap. Yeah. And he runs that whole entire line. He's still good.
Even I know you got Brooks coming back this year or next year. That was a huge loss. Brooks is one of the best guards in the NFL right now.
Yeah. How does this play out?
Lane, and then who's your left tackle? Is it going to be Mailata or is it going to be Dillard? Yeah,
Mailata's good. Put Dillard at guard then. Let him play guard.
Yeah,
what are you going to do?
I don't think he can play guard.
But what I'm saying is so you're going to take Mailata out again after he actually played?
No. I'm saying compete for the job going into training camp. I think it should be a competition.
Dude, and the only reason first round pick, he's got to start.
This is only going to be a competition because Dillard was the first round pick. It wouldn't be even Mailata would have the job outright if it wasn't for that, in my opinion. But yeah, I mean, you got Brooks on the one guard and Salomalo on the other side. And then you have, if Johnson can stay healthy, he's still one of the better right tackles in the league. So, but, if Kelsey retires and it's not going to be easy to replace that type of center. I mean, you're talking about a Hall of Fame caliber center that could be retiring.
Well, Johnny Suggs says Buffalo Bills offensive coordinator Brian Daboll is rumored to be the top pick for next head coach. Lincoln Riley. Yeah, we talked about Lincoln Riley.
Yeah. I don't think he goes anywhere.
Do they really want to be – I mean, then it just puts you in another situation of, all right, well, he's a Hurts guy. And Lincoln Riley was supposedly the last 3 drafts helping the Eagles pick people. Well, that didn't work out well either. Okay, so what is that telling me? I don't really know. I don't know. I think they need to. I don't agree with the college coaches becoming NFL coaches right away. I mean, it hasn't really worked for many coaches. So I mean, you saw. Yeah, Saban went back.
Even Kingsbury's still up in the air. I mean, they don't forget Arizona was 6-3 and didn't make.
He drafted his guy though. He handpicked his guy.
Yeah.
So he's gonna.
It looks like Murray's
guy with him.
It looks like Murray's. Yeah, it looks like Murray's is going to be a good quarterback in this league. There's no question about it. He already has shown that ability. But I'm just saying, as far as 2 years so far, they didn't make the playoffs this year, and you have an extra playoff spot now in the NFL. It's easier to make the playoffs than it's ever been.
Right.
So, but you're right. I don't think he would want to come out, to be honest with you. I'm just sensing that. Now, Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, not that we want to completely change subjects on like coaches out there, but it looks like I wouldn't be surprised if he takes the Jaguars job at this point. So,
listen, if it'll be very, very interesting to see how much Joe Douglas actually was involved in the Peterson hire, in the Peterson aspect while he was here. Because if he goes out and gets him, that tells you something. And if he doesn't go out and get him, that also tells you something.
He came in the year after Doug was hired.
But still, though, what I'm saying is he was in the building with him. He knows who he is. If he thinks he's a good enough coach, he'll try and get him.
Well, there's no question that's why the connection is there. So, with the Jets, obviously, as they look for their next head coach. But, and I'm curious whether or not the Jets right now, I haven't listened to any Jets perspective today or as far as New York radio goes, but I'm wondering if they are, if that's one of their top guys that they want now. I am curious to know that. And if there's any Jets fans here on the show, I know our own Matt Zuccarello. I'm not sure if he's tuning in, but I'm curious to see what they think about Doug as possibly on the top of the.
I know that Matt was not happy to possibly have him.
Okay. I'm wondering what other Jets fans think about that. But
I mean, listen, he's going to be better than what they had. And I also heard that Adam Gase would be an excellent offensive coordinator if he has the right quarterback. He's shown that he's a good offensive coordinator.
There was a rumor that Alabama's looking for a new offense coordinator after this year. That he's actually the Alabama, I think, has reached out to him already. Listen, I don't know if he wants to go to college, but
listen,
it would be good for him to rehash his value back.
Honestly, though, what has he had in New York? I'm not saying he's a good head coach. He's a good play caller, though. We know he can call plays.
Yeah, he failed as a head coach. He had his 2 chances with Miami and now the Jets. Yeah, he's not a good cat. I agree he's a good offense coordinator. He could be. But sometimes when you're a head coach, you get a little overwhelmed, I guess, with all the aspects that you have to be a part of. You have to have your finger on the pulse of the entire team. Right. I guess he just couldn't handle that. And it got in the way of maybe, he was responsible for, Sam Darnold not panning out.
Yeah.
And it looks like, obviously the Jets are going to be drafting their next quarterback, even though they have the number 2 pick. I would still think that they are going to be in the running for either Zach Wilson or Josh Fields. We will see how that goes. But
Aaron wants to know about Harbaugh. I'm pretty sure he signed an extension to be there for another 4 or 5 years somehow.
It's crazy.
I don't know who he has, but he has dirty pictures of somebody because I don't know what's going on there. Yeah, they haven't beaten anybody in the Big Ten in about 3 years, and I'm trying to figure out how he's still going back. And it's going to be about recruiting.
Yeah, they're recruiting fine, but they're not getting their quarterback. They haven't had.
Right.
I mean, their best quarterback since he got there, I think, is Shea Patterson, and he was a transfer for Ole Miss, and he didn't even play that well.
Right.
So he hasn't been able to get that stud 5-star quarterback that comes in as like a surefire. And he's had 6 years now to get that guy, and he hasn't got it. And here we are. He's going to, I guess, as you said, he's there for another 4 or 5 years. And any chance of any NFL team maybe getting back into reaching out to him, that's obviously not going to happen now. So
I'm going to throw something out there. And off the top of my head, I don't know everybody, but I kind of get some of the guys. Why is it that, and I'm not saying Doug wasn't successful here, because like I said, 4 out of the 5 years made the playoffs, had one bad year this year. There had to be some kind of camaraderie issue that wasn't jiving. The Reed coaching tree, okay? John Harbaugh, very successful with the Ravens. You go down the list. Ron Rivera had some success with the Panthers and took Washington to the playoffs this year. I know it was a crappy division.
Now Sean McDermott, another one. I mean, look what he's done with the Bills. That guy might have a statue of himself in that park in about the next year if they win the Super Bowl.
But
it would be the franchise's first ever.
A defensive coach. That's a defensive coach who is taking that team to where it has never been. Isn't Stefanski an Eagles guy? But he's not a Reed disciple, right?
No, he's not. I don't know.
Stefanski used to be the GM of the Sixers, right?
Yeah, he's from Stefanski went to St. Joe Prep, I think.
I think he did.
So he's a Philadelphia area guy. I think him and Joe Judge, the Giants coach, were in this, I think they went to the same high school, if I'm not mistaken, or at least the same area. But I mean, what Kevin Stefanski has done in Cleveland, didn't even coach last night, and the Browns won that game. That was unbelievable last night. What Cleveland was able to do, jumping out to that 28-0 lead like that
was amazing
in the first quarter, and they.
All right, here you go. Here's your coaching tree: Sean McDermott, John Harbaugh, Matt Nagy, Peterson, Ron Rivera, Todd Bowles, who wasn't a successful head coach, but a hell of a good defensive coordinator.
Yeah, and he's actually going to get another interview, it looks like, with the Lions coming up soon.
Pat Shurmur had a nice little run with the Vikings as a offensive coordinator, right? And then became
he failed as the Giants head coach.
Leslie Frazier, Steve Spagnuolo, Brad Childress, pretty much the knowers. So, I mean, listen, he's had a lot of guys underneath him. Now, did the Eagles give Bieniemy
more success than Belichick's tree?
Well, do the Eagles give Bieniemy a shot? How's that look to Deuce then? I know Deuce hasn't been an offensive coordinator yet, but that probably wouldn't look too well. Although,
and guess what? Deuce is moving on, going somewhere else. Probably. Then, I mean, I don't know what to say.
I think this is it.
I don't think they should be that. I mean, I know he's been there for a while. I think he's been there since 2011, 2012. I think he's the longest tenured assistant coach now there, and has survived 4 coaching regimes, I think. So, 3.
He was there with
Reed, Chip, and now Doug.
2011 he started.
But I don't know. As I said, I'd rather go with Bieniemy, obviously, but I mean, as we said, do we really know what he could be as a head coach? I mean, no, but obviously we have to figure he's got enough of his handprints on what Kansas City and is responsible, at least for a little bit, what Kansas City's been able to do.
What other people? Okay, what other candidates you're hearing? Urban Meyer, you're hearing Lincoln Riley. A lot of college people were surfacing, but then you have your NFL guys who always are getting Bill Cowher, all these other guys who are going to be mentioned. Is there 1 or 2 candidates where you could say, "Wow, that's a can't miss candidate"?
Can I ask you why everybody still talks about Bill Cowher as head coach in friggin' almost 20 years?
I don't know. I don't know why everybody talks about him. And John Suggs said Mike Kafka, and I get it. And Brian says Jason Garrett.
Morales says Spags.
Yeah.
I don't think Spags could be a head coach.
This whole Mike Kafka thing, I think he was answering our defensive coordinator question.
Well, yeah, of course. Yeah,
this whole Mike Kafka thing, Mike Kafka sucked as a quarterback in the NFL. And
it doesn't matter.
What?
It doesn't matter. There's been bad quarterbacks that are good head coaches in the league.
Peterson did too.
And Reich was, I mean, I know he had the great defining moment with Buffalo, the comeback win against the Oilers, but what did Frank Reich do for the rest of his career?
But listen, Frank Reich, well, how many years has Mike Kafka been the whatever, all for whatever?
I honestly, I think a couple years. I don't know.
I'm saying. At least Reich was an offensive coordinator, head coach before, and then he came to us. Hyman.
You mean I agree with that in that sense. Yeah. You were just saying, I thought you were just saying it as, he's a crappy quarterback. We can't base it.
I don't want him as, I honestly don't want him
a lot of the better minds are guys that did not have the talent, but at least knew and could study, and can watch film and decipher, reads and all the, different aspects of, researching, offenses and opposing defenses. So
I think if the Eagles were smart, they bring in Louis Riddick. He comes in. He's a good mind, but they won't do that. It's almost like they got rid of him, and it was like their mistake type thing. I think that
there's no shot that Louis Riddick would want to come here to work for Howie.
That's what I'm saying. Not in this regime.
No,
I'm saying if everything opened up, I think that he would be a great person. Everybody keeps talking about, Orlovsky and all these guys wanting to get out of the booth and get into NFL jobs as a quarterback coach or a head coach or an offensive coordinator. What about a guy like Rex Ryan coming back and playing like a defensive coordinator?
Honestly, at this point with Rex Ryan, that was actually that question was posed today actually in one of
Rex is like the Tortorella of hockey.
Honestly, though, I think at this point, I don't think he'll get another head coaching job in the NFL.
Yeah?
I don't think so. I think I think right now, I don't know if it has to do with his personality because we know his father was the same way. I just don't know at this point that teams, owners, whatever, front offices, they'll know what they sign up for when they get him. A guy that's not going to shut his mouth to the media is going to hurt teams as far as that is concerned more than help. I just don't know if he can ever shut his mouth like that. And we know his game is being that type of personality. And at the same time, I don't know if he would want to come back and be a defensive coordinator. Maybe he would. He's still young enough, I would think. He's been an analyst on ESPN, I think, for the last 2 or 3 years now. So he's been out of the league, I think, coaching-wise since 2017, 16, I think was his last year.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Mcdermott took over, I think, at 17. So, it's been a while, and I don't know. I personally, I mean, maybe it goes somewhere else, but for the Eagles, I wouldn't want to touch him. But
does a guy like Jim Schwartz land somewhere as a D coordinator?
No, I think this is sincerely. He'll take the year off, and then I think he'll come back next year. I don't think he'll ever be a head coach again, but I think he'll get looked at again, and then he'll get contacted again about whether or not he wants to come back.
Right.
I'm sure. So he'll get other, communication will be out there for him to
see. Like I'm reading Ike Reese's tweet right now, and he said, "I'm not opposed to bringing in a defensive head coach as long as you bring in a good offensive coordinator like Kafka." Like, come on, man! How much you know about Mike Kafka?
I don't know. I don't know where this is all. This is just like the normal. You hear from others, and the that it's almost like last year with the Cowboys with Kellen Moore. Everybody raved about him, and I think Kellen Moore actually was regarded pretty well again this year after Dak got hurt. Looked like the offense finally clicked at the end of the season for Dallas, but I don't know. I just it's the flavor of the month, I guess of the season.
Yep.
I don't know. I guess Mike Kafka has been chosen as that person right now. So.
Well, here are the people that they are saying are a possibility. Arthur Smith, Tennessee.
Yeah, didn't show very well yesterday. But,
Brian Dabble, Buffalo. Bieniemy.
Mm-hmm.
Greg Roman, another offensive coordinator.
Ravens, right?
How about this name? Jim Caldwell.
Where is he right now?
Nowhere.
Oh, he's not even employed.
Deuce Staley and Lincoln Riley are the names on this list that I just saw.
Yeah, Jim Caldwell should have never been fired as the Lions head coach.
We know that.
He actually got them to the playoffs a couple times.
Yeah.
I think, he was hired right after Jim Schwartz got fired.
Right.
And I think he got to the playoffs a couple times, maybe once or twice. And then for whatever reason, they felt like they had to move on to the flavor of the month of the season and Matt Patricia, and that became a disaster for three seasons with Detroit. He didn't even make it 3 seasons. He got fired, November. So, yeah, I mean, Caldwell's never surprised that his name's going to be put out there again to get another opportunity, but I don't think he would be strongly considered here. I mean, we'll see. I guess we'll find out more in the coming days here on, are there going to be actual? I'm sure we'll get leaks here soon or reports on guys coming in to get scheduled to be interviewed. Obviously, right now, as we said, the Kansas City guys can't be interviewed, so that's going to be put on hold. Could be till the end. There is a week off between the championship games and the Super Bowl, so I guess that would be the time to do it.
Right.
But I don't know. I think it's crazy we're even talking about this right now, to be honest with you.
Like I said, I was very surprised by the news today. I honestly didn't think Lurie had the balls to do it at so close to the Super Bowl win. But listen, if they're going to bring in somebody that is going to impact in a positive way, because this year was a total joke from top to bottom with the coach, the quarterback, Howie, laughing stock of the NFC least. It was bad. It was a very bad year.
Yeah, no question. And as I said, at this point, we'll see what happens as far as the next steps here. I mean, they got pretty much a whole coaching staff to fill out. The roster's a mess as well. A lot of decisions to make with the roster this offseason as well. So there's going to be a lot to talk about with the Eagles this offseason now, as basically this is going to be kind of similar to what we dealt with from the end of the 2015 season going into the 2016 offseason. So it's going to be very similar in that.
Think about it, though.
And
the NFC East is not a powerhouse. Okay.
Well, no, we know that.
I wouldn't consider this a rebuild. And
I think it might be, though.
But listen, if they find a good enough head coach and make some changes,
right?
Should they have won 6-7 games this year, Paul? I mean, in this division, they could have won the division still.
Of course, yeah, they could have. Yeah,
I'm saying when I mean rebuild, I mean you're not looking at a 3-win team. Okay, they could have won more games this year. Yeah,
they could have, but and you make a good point about. I know you're saying. You're saying about division hasn't been good in a while, and obviously, sure they can win 9 games next year and be in division contention. I would assume, but
it's hard.
I don't know if that's what you want.
It's considered a rebuild. Yes, I get it, but the division is so bad that it's almost not a rebuild. It's almost like you still somebody has to win a division.
You know what though? I'm thinking about it though. I don't think you want to aim like that though. You don't want to aim to just be okay. Let's just build this team back to the point where they're good enough to win the division. No, that's not what this is about.
No, I'm not that's how they should go about it. Okay. I'm saying somebody still has to win the division. Every team in the division is terrible. So,
Washington's probably got the most promise in the division right now. They got a good young roster. They have to figure out who their quarterback's going to be.
The Giants actually look pretty decent too. That's at points.
Yeah, I mean, and they're going to have to. If Saquon could come back strong and be what he was his rookie season, sure. I mean, but right, you're right. DeRosa, Tony DeRosa. We played for the draft picks. Yes, I've been going back and forth with this individual about the tanking in week 17. I mean. I'm perfectly fine with the number 6 pick.
And Tony's a Giants fan, from what I remember.
Yes, he is. And I told him about the Giants. I think they're heading in the right direction. I think the coach is fine. Daniel Jones is still. Let's not forget about him. I don't think he's set in stone as this is the surefire franchise quarterback. He's going to have a lot to prove going into next year too, with Jason Garrett being, the play caller for the second year. We'll see how he goes next year. But Barkley's going to be a huge part of what they do next year again.
Getting back to Tony's statement about the draft picks, did that sow Peterson's fate in that last game?
No. That's not what it was. That's not what it was about.
Listen, he put Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter. Do you think that he thought, "Oh, this is my last game. I don't give a shit. I'm going to put Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter"?
No, I think that came. I think I'm just connecting dots. Trying to now is, I don't think that was Doug's 100% decision. I think that came from collaboration with front office and ownership, and I think that's what it came down to. I think Doug decided the Hurts thing eventually, because I felt like he felt, if I'm going to have a shot of staying here, I got to see what Jalen Hurts, is all about. So I think that part. But then when it comes to, I don't know what he's talking about with the true story coming. We'll come out.
About they needed to take care of how the Giants needed to take care of business in weeks 1 through 16 so they can get into the playoffs.
He knows that. He just listen. Any Giants fan that's going to sit there and be that mad. I mean, I guess I don't blame you for the first day being a little bit mad, but now that we have had a full 8 days to really delve into this, Giants fans still have to realize they won 6 games. And you know what? Yeah, if you beat the Eagles like you should have that Thursday night game, Evan Ingram catches a pass to ice the game essentially. Then you're in the playoffs as 7-9 because you had the tiebreaker of Washington because you beat them twice. But
I agree with this statement. I do think Doug became the fall guy because this is a way to keep Wentz in Philadelphia. Now nobody's talking about getting rid of Wentz. Now it's, does he stay? Okay, is that fractured relationship done? Nobody cares about it anymore. Okay, so it's almost like, well, what's the problem now? The Hurts just goes back to being a backup quarterback, and that's it. Like now you have questions about the quarterback situation. Not so much is the quarterback coming back. He's going to come back now. I would have to assume.
Yeah, yet again, I guess it depends on who. Listen, but at the same time, Howie, Laurie, whoever else is, Doug Smolinski, those guys are going to be in the room when these interviews are taking place. They also already have in their mind what they want that head coach to say.
Right.
So if the head coach doesn't say, or that head coaching candidate, I should say, if the head coaching candidate doesn't say that if they don't think Wentz, they could salvage Wentz and they don't think he's part of the plans, then they'll move on to the next candidate. So maybe they already have in their mind that they want that head coaching candidate to say that they want, that they believe that they can turn this thing around with Wentz, and here's my offense, and here's how I believe he can fit into this offense and his skill set. So, I mean, I think that's what it's going to come down to as well.
Right,
but then, as you said, what's that mean for Hurts? So, I mean, there's so many different factors to it all right now.
Paul, we got about 10, 15 minutes left. I see you're wearing a Clemson shirt. I'm a Notre Dame fan. We're both losers. So
yes, we are.
ACC
was a bunch of losers this year.
Yeah,
huh?
we will not be going to the national championship game tonight, but we are going to talk a little bit about this Alabama-Ohio State game. Paul, what is the final line almost right now?
It was 8.5. I don't even know. I think it was 8.5. I'll look on DraftKings.
I think I had two different feelings about this game. First, I thought Alabama was going to kill them. Ohio State doesn't do much for me.
9.5.
Oof. Alabama really doesn't do much for me. As far as the sexy pick, and they have the Waddle's supposed to be playing tonight. They just showed him on the field running.
Yeah.
Alabama blows out every team pretty much. For some reason, I think Ohio State keeps this game close. I think they keep it within a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. If they get down early, they're done. I think that they have to keep this thing at halftime within a one-score game, and then they're okay. But if this team goes to 21-0 or whatever, they're done.
I think it's simple as if Ohio State has a chance, they're going to need Justin Fields. They're going to need Justin Fields to play
out of his mind.
Basically, very similar to how he played against Clemson a couple of weeks ago. I think he's going to. I don't know if he needs to throw for 6 touchdowns, but he's certainly going to have to be as efficient in that game and as spectacular as he was in that game. He's going to have to do that again tonight.
David Pollock this morning said if Ohio State's going to win, they need to score 48 points tonight. That was his. He said this could be one of the highest scoring games ever in the championship.
Well, there's a reason why the total's 75. It's the largest.
I'm saying.
It's the largest. Yeah.
They could. It all depends on what Alabama team. Are they going to be the team that just rips you apart in the first 10 minutes of the game, or are they going to let Ohio State hang in there? I think that they have a lot of firepower, Alabama, but these championship games, I don't know. I think it stays close. I think it stays within 9.5. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, Alabama, every game they played this year, it pretty much. I mean, the Florida game ended up being closer at the end than it probably should have been the SEC championship game. But the Notre Dame game was really never it wasn't a full blowout, I guess, but it was still, you knew that Notre Dame was not going to be able to, keep up with them offensively. Never really did. Got close to that. And, listen, I think for Ohio State, there's just still a little bit of an unknown because, this is only going to be their 8th game tonight. They've only played 7 games so far. And obviously the last game they played was easily the best game they've played all year. Yeah. Now, Clemson didn't play that good either. I mean, it came down to a factor of Clemson did not come to play. And Ohio State played very well. So, I mean, those combinations obviously helped. But I think tonight, I just think, Alabama's been the best team all year. And it hasn't been very, very close as far as the gap between 1 and 2. And I don't think it's going to – I think we're going to see basically that verify again tonight. I think Alabama wins by a couple of touchdowns.
Okay. If I was a bettor – or a betting man, I would have been all over the Browns last night. I way too many points to give an aging Pittsburgh team. It's just my opinion.
Well, you knew why it went up a little bit. It was because Stefanski wasn't there.
Well, of course, and that probably did scare some people away.
Yeah,
but listen, the Browns are up and coming. They're a good football team, and if they get they have 2 above average, excellent running backs, and they're a good team. So, just talking about the Brian asked a pretty good question here. I mean, I probably would know your answer, but does Clemson put up more of a fight than Ohio State would? I didn't even want to see them in the national championship game because they probably would have lost by 30 today.
That's a good question, actually. I don't know. As I said, I think regardless if Alabama played Clemson or Ohio State tonight, I don't think it would have made much of a difference. I was surprised Clemson honestly was favored as much as they were against Ohio State, being like 7.5. I even said I think that I even said that I thought that spread should have been lower, and I thought Ohio State had every chance to win the game, and they did. And I don't think there would have been much difference if it was Ohio State or Clemson. I think those 2 teams were pretty even. I think if they played 10 times, it would be 5-5. I'm pretty sure. But Alabama, I mean, yeah, they're on a higher, on another stratosphere basically at this point. So
I agree with that. Just so you're going with Alabama tonight by a couple of touchdowns. I'm taking Ohio State plus the 9.5 for whatever they're getting at that point. And like I said, I'm not a fan of Ohio State at all. I just think that they find a way to keep this close. Let's say they come out and make it 7-0 right away, put Alabama on their heels. Alabama's never played from behind. You don't know what kind of a team they're going to be at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You never know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you have Waddle, you have Devonta Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, Mac Jones. They have a lot of guys. They have weapons, and Najee Harris. They have a ton of weapons. So they could beat you anywhere. That game starts at 8:05 or what time?
I think 8:15. But
anything else for the good of the order here for our fans on the Sports Pass? We had a nice Eagles discussion today. A lot of
yeah, I mean, normally we would have obviously talked about the Super Wild Card weekend.
We didn't need to.
Yeah, with this news today, obviously that took to the forefront, and we'll see. Obviously, divisional weekend coming up should be fun. With I would expect the Packers will manhandle the Rams, but we'll see. Ravens and Bills is going to be a hell of a game, I think. I'm looking forward to that one.
How can you not be a Bills fan right now? Like, how can you not want the Bills to win?
I think it's going to be great. I think that's going to be a good game on Saturday.
Awesome.
That's a Saturday night game. And then Sunday's Chiefs and Browns and, Bucks and Saints Part 3 should be fun to watch. And I
got a question for you.
Go ahead.
Seeing what the Stephon Diggs trade did for the Bills.
Yeah.
Do you think that the Eagles in all these years could have traded for a wide receiver at some point like that?
So Buffalo gave up a second-round pick?
I want a difference-making wide receiver like that.
I mean, sure they could have.
What I'm saying is, does he make that team that much better? You see what he has done for that team. 124 catches this year, whatever he had.
Sure, he would have. I think he would have if he was on the Eagles. You're saying
any impact receiver that they could have traded for, and they never pulled that trigger for that.
Yeah.
DeAndre Hopkins is out,
right,
or somebody else is getting dangled in a trade, and the Eagles never make that move.
Yeah, and all the times that Eagles fans wanted Antonio Brown.
I mean.
Too much of a headache though there, but I mean I know I see what he's doing now in Tampa, and he's kept his.
Listen, Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent. Juju Smith-Schuster is a free agent. Now he's running his mouth. I don't want him on my team.
Is he free agent?
Huh?
Is he free agent?
Free at the end of this year, yeah. Because they were talking about Roethlisberger's has one more year and Pouncey has one more year, but Juju's a free agent.
I would think Roethlisberger's going to retire, but I could be wrong.
Well, the way he was acting at the end of the game, it looked like it.
Yeah. I would think, though, to answer your question, any of these impact receivers, I don't know if it would have made them a surefire Super Bowl contender again, but I mean, obviously, if you're talking about this division, they would have become the favorite in the division. Let's say, Diggs comes to the Eagles. Certainly that offense would have looked much better. No question about it. But they haven't had a receiver like that. Even the year they won the Super Bowl, they didn't have great receiver play. They had good enough receiver play, and they had, Aguilar, who had his career year. And
think about this though. Okay.
Corey Smith was fine, but
I'm gonna turn the table on you a little bit with this question. Vikings, they got Justin Jefferson, rookie reception record. Adam Thielen is a bona fide number one receiver pretty much in the NFL. Dalvin Cook. What's the problem with that offense? As I'm saying, is Kirk Cousins the problem?
I think he's part of it. Their defense was very bad though this year.
So let's say you have a Miles Sanders on this team and a Justin Jefferson and a bona fide number one. Would Wentz have been the problem? We don't know, obviously. But does that type of an offense help you win games? Absolutely, I would have to think so.
Yeah,
the defense has to. They have to rework their defense. Their secondary is god awful. Darius Slay played like shit this year too. I don't care what anybody says for what they gave up for him. And there needs to be some retooling. They need linebackers. They need wide receivers. We've known this for years though, and they haven't done anything with it.
Yeah. The only rebuttal to that was I don't think Slay was fine. I mean, you're talking about
he wasn't a number one impact corner. There's no.
No, but he was put on an island against DK Metcalf and got destroyed. I understand that.
Technically, he actually was on top of him on almost every one of those catches.
Yeah,
and he's a freak and caught everything above.
Yeah. Just physically, he's just much. Yeah,
but I'm just saying, half the time there must have been so much miscommunication between everything that was going on. It's almost like every time Slay got beat, he was looking to see if he had help. Nobody knew what they were doing, and I guess it made him look worse than he was.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're right. Yeah, it made him look worse. But I think if you watch closely, if you went back and looked, he actually was maybe a little bit of unlucky moments for him. But yeah,
I'm interested to see now after the Schwartz regime is over now, what kind of a defense that is put in and some of the guys that they bring in. I mean, listen, every year we get excited. Oh, they brought in Nicole Roby-Coleman. What did he do this year? I'm just saying. Oh, Vontae Max is going to play, and this guy's going to play, and my God, we moved Jalen Mills to safety. Come on, it's the same guys. They just keep rotating, and they're not very good. They need high impact players.
I honestly thought Roby-Coleman wasn't a bad signing to bring in as like your slot guy, but he turned out to be bad. Yeah, he turned out to be bad. Did not pan out here.
They need to draft impact players that are going to be stars at the next level. They can't figure it out.
You only have so many picks, though, too. So, I mean,
they have to hit on them. They're not hitting on any of them.
Mm-hmm.
They're not, though. I mean, the facts are there. They're not hitting on any picks. Lane Johnson was, the 4th overall pick? Miles Sanders was a 2nd-round pick. I mean, I guess you could say they hit on him. He's very good.
Yeah.
But, their last 2 drafts – they don't even have anybody left from the 18 draft on the team. It's terrible. How do you not have one of your picks left on the board? Come on. Other teams are drafting quarterbacks in the 6th round who are making impact. It's frustrating. It's frustrating being an Eagles fan right now. It is, and it's hard to say that after winning the Super Bowl 3 years ago.
Yeah, right. Not even 3 years ago. It will be 3 years in February, but I mean, it's crazy to think that's what basically how this is all unfolded here over the last 2 years and 11 months. That's for sure. But thanks, everybody for joining us tonight, and all of those that had questions and comments and chimed in on our Eagles firing Doug Peterson filled show, along with our college football playoff championship game prediction tonight. Enjoy the college football game, and obviously enjoy the rest of your week, and then divisional weekend obviously coming up this weekend coming up, and we will be back with you next Monday. So have a good night. Paul McCree once again with Mike Velarde. Have a great week and a great night, everybody.
Thank you for watching the Sports Box. Follow us on Facebook at Sports Box Show, Twitter at Sports Box Show, Instagram at The Sports Box Show. Find us on YouTube and join Outside the Box, our Facebook sports discussion group. The Sports Box is brought to you by our friends at CrowdPlay. Download the free CrowdPlay app today and use promo code THEBOX at sign up for 10 points. See you next time.